Fuck around, make my 40 pop.
Alright guys, Boruto chapter 81 review. This chapter right here was absolutely fire, 10 out of 10. I think most of the people who actually did watch this chapter or actually did read this chapter came away with a very positive review of it. And of course, no different over here, same here. The biggest part about this particular chapter right here had to be the final couple of pages when we did see the three-way deadlock between Boruto, Kawaki, and Code. And of course, Sarada was there, a couple claw grind was there. And this right here is essentially setting up to be one of the best chapters in Boruto chapter 82. Now, I don't even really know if I should be calling it Boruto chapter 82 because I know on Viz they kind of made it a different name. So technically the last chapter was chapter 1 of Boruto TBV. But regardless, they're essentially setting up for a very entertaining chapter. A couple of things that's probably going to come out in that particular chapter is specifically how strong everyone is. This prior chapter right here got everybody speculating, everybody wondering exactly how strong those three right there specifically are. And of course, there could be some possible merit that Kawaki and Boruto potentially surpass Code. Now, if I'd give my personal opinion about how strong I think each of the three of them are, I'm gonna still have to say Code is number one. Even though Boruto absolutely clowned Code in this last chapter, and when it comes to power scaling, it looked even scarier. First things first, we have to understand that Code himself is supposed to be the unlimited Code, stronger than Jigen himself. Now, obviously, he doesn't really have his karma seal, so you could argue that he's not 100% right here. But the Code that we all feared, Boruto landed on top of his face, and then Code tried to swipe at Boruto, and then Boruto reacted to him. Now, same thing with Code. Boruto also does not have his karma seal out either, so you can argue that Boruto is now like up there speed and strength wise with Code, which is like absolutely insane. But of course, multiple things go into actually fighting and then just being able to react to someone. That right there is definitely impressive, but I'd still have to put Code up there at number one. There's a couple of things that could actually put Boruto above Code in my personal opinion. First things first, we have to understand that Boruto wasn't even fully using his karma seal to the correct capacity once he did have it in part 1. He himself was actually having to use Momoshiki to kind of bring out the true essence of the karma seal. In my personal opinion, there's definitely a possibility that Boruto himself, using the karma seal and utilizing it the correct way, could potentially even draw out more power from the karma seal than Momoshiki himself actually did. And also, Boruto strengthening his base is also going to give that karma seal version a significant upgrade. I remember back in part 1, we're essentially debating base Boruto versus Sarada, and if that's the base that the karma seal was being stacked on to actually match up with the limited Code and his karma seal back in the day, imagine how strong Boruto is actually going to be now if his base is actually equal to that of like a Code or even that of like a Jigen level character. It's going to be absolutely astronomical. So in my personal opinion, that right there is probably going to be what we're going to be looking for, especially in the next chapter. How strong is the base Boruto going to be? Kawaki, on the other hand, a lot of his abilities are very straightforward. His dojutsu has been absolutely broken ever since he got it. Now, when he originally got it, I talked about this in multiple other videos, he started off with 1 to 4 triangle. That's what was max. And of course, Ishiko Tsuki himself had 8 triangles. Kawaki now is at full-fledged 8, so it's a very good possibility that his eye dojutsu is just as strong as Ishiko Tsuki's dojutsu back in the day. Also, his base also has even more room to grow, mainly because his base is genetically altered. Like, he was already a cyborg, so even without the karma seal, like, his base possibly has even more potential than a character like Boruto's base, which I was just talking about potentially reaching up there with like Jigen or something like that. So I mean, this right here, it's all shaping up to be an absolute insane time in regards to power scaling for all the power scales involved. But if I had to give my personal opinion, as I said a bit earlier, I have Code number 1, and then I'd probably have Kawaki, and then I have Boruto number 3. And that lineup in itself is going to cause for a lot of drama in the next chapter, because if Boruto is really going to be as hunted as we think he is, Kawaki is going after Boruto, Code is going after Boruto, everybody in the Hidden Leaf Village is going after Boruto. If Boruto is generally number 3 in that 3-man lineup, it's going to be a very difficult situation for Boruto, but also be very entertaining for us as fans of Boruto. Now, digressing a little bit off of that 3-way deadlock, I think the second most important plot line has to be the plot line between Sarada, Sumire, and Eida. In this particular plot line, Sarada and Sumire, they are not necessarily affected by the omnipotent power that Eida has, and that in itself could be seen as a threat by Eida and Damon, as we see in this chapter right here. Shikamaru kind of reminding them like, hey, if they realize that you're not affected by Eida's powers, that would mean that you're a potential threat to Eida, which means that you could actually kill Eida. No one else has the ability to actually do that to Eida unless they're related to Eida or an Otsutsuki member, and that right there in itself makes Sarada and Sumire an inherent threat. Now, once the official translations did actually come out, here's where I start to actually analyze the words, the tone, and the cadence. In this chapter, it seems like Eida knows. It seems like Eida has already called out and confirmed to herself, like, hey, these guys are lying. They are 1000% not affected by omnipotence. Like, just to go over what Eida actually said, she says, I still find it mystifying how the two of you have managed to retain your memories when you're not Otsutsuki. Like, that statement in itself is not really a question. She's not really trying to pry and get answers upon if they're actually under the omnipotence. She's like making a declaration that they're not under omnipotence, and it's still mystifying as to how they are not, because they aren't Otsutsuki. And it's not even that. She even goes further. She says both omnipotence and charm have no effect on Otsutsuki. They also don't work on family members like Damon, but you two are neither. How are you able to retain your memories? Or more importantly, are you sure you're both really my captives? So it seems as though Eida knows that they're not really her captives, and she's really trying to pry and try to see if they'll actually lie to her. Again, this right here is just my assumption, but it makes it seem like Eida already knows. Eida already knows. Now, speaking of Sarada, one of the other interesting storylines in this particular chapter was specifically if she was demoted to being a genin or not, and we were kind of waiting for the official translations to come out, and lo and behold, in this specific chapter, Shikamaru did actually confirm that Sarada was still a genin. If she was actually demoted, there could possibly be an actual reason as to why. First things first, if you guys do recall, one of the biggest reasons why Sarada did actually want to upgrade her status was because she wanted to become the Hokage. Now, in this particular chapter, Sarada did kind of voice some concerns that she might not become the Hokage because her dad is also like a missing ninja. Like, her dad went rogue twice. And also Boruto went rogue, and she still wants to be like an advocate for Boruto. So it might be a fork in the road where she understands that, hey, she might not be able to become Hokage just because of the situation that she's actually in. And not only that, she didn't necessarily completely give up on becoming Hokage, but she possibly now believes that it doesn't really matter if she actually does climb up the ranks, become a Chunin, then become a Jonin, and then become a very, very high ranking Jonin, and then become Hokage like Shikamaru. No, she believes that she could potentially just stay again and not really do too much, and then eventually become a Hokage through hard work and just flat out merit, just like how Naruto did. And what's also interesting with that line of thinking, she essentially pointed out how Naruto left the Hidden Leaf Village and actually came back, saved Sasuke, and then became the Hokage. And she said specifically, my role model is Lord Seventh, not you. This right here could possibly be her plan to potentially, you know, bring Boruto back and then become the Hokage. And if that's the case, that also brings in a brand new elite storyline of Sarada also going rogue alongside Boruto. On our podcast last night, Melkon discussed the situation and called it like a brand new Team Taka that Boruto would kind of form. In my personal opinion, this right here would definitely be an elite storyline. It would kind of be genius. And not only that, Sumire could also leave as well, mainly because Sumire is also not really affected. And also when it comes to the Jogan, Sumire played a huge part in Boruto actually utilizing it in the first arc of Boruto Part 1. Now, one of the last things that I do want to talk about in this review has to be Himawari. I think that Himawari defending Boruto in this particular situation makes a lot of sense. Before we get into it, we have to lay the foundation. Himawari is looking at Boruto as if he is Kawaki. All the memories that she has of Boruto is of Kawaki. So the person who broke her glass vase and rebuilt it with glue, that was Boruto. The weird person that came to her house in the middle of her childhood and then pretty much treated her like his own little sister, that was Boruto. If you guys did not watch, and a lot of you guys probably didn't, but if you guys didn't really watch the anime version of Himawari being an academy student while Kawaki was there, you guys probably won't understand. But during that arc, Kawaki had complete correct intentions because he was on a mission. Of course, his mission in that particular situation was to protect a princess, and in that particular mission, a lot of people in the academy kind of thought Kawaki was weird at first. A lot of people didn't really like him, but again, Kawaki didn't really care because he was doing things for the good of the Hidden Leaf Village, and he was doing things for a mission. Himawari seen that and understood that Kawaki doesn't really care about what other people think about him as long as he's doing what he believes is correct. And also, if you compound that with the fact that Kawaki in the past literally risked his life to save Himawari and Naruto against Delta, that right there would kind of give us the idea that, hey, maybe Himawari would probably be one of the last people to actually hold out hope for Boruto, because again, everybody's thinking that's actually Kawaki, and Kawaki did actually save Himawari. Himawari said herself that if Kawaki did actually kill the Hokage, then he did it for a very, very good reason, and if that's the case, maybe he still needs help to this day. And not only that, I mean, if you guys recall, Kawaki back in the day, almost everyone knew that Kawaki had like an unhealthy obsession with Naruto. My guy absolutely loved Naruto, and if anyone were to actually kill Naruto, it almost certainly wouldn't be Kawaki. So for now, Himawari to kind of believe that Boruto in the image of Kawaki did this, it just doesn't really make that much sense, especially for a character like Himawari. And of course, Boruto in the image of Kawaki not coming back to the Hidden Leaf Village makes complete sense, because Kawaki never really seeked any outside validation because he knew what he was doing was for the good of the Hidden Leaf Village. And Himawari's probably thinking that's what Boruto is doing right now. So this right here could definitely take a very interesting turn. I think that Himawari is definitely going to want to get to the bottom of this, and her linking up with Sarada and Sumire is probably a foregone conclusion as of right now. But let me know what you guys think about this chapter in the comment section down below. I think it was absolutely elite. I mean, 10 out of 10. Designs elite, storyline elite, plot elite. Only thing that we need right now is the next chapter. But let me know what you guys think. It's been your boy Barry B, and we out.
It's a knife.